It's too late. It's too late to go back now. Ah! Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. I love finding affordable ways to DIY a variety of things. Money can't buy everything, except maybe figures. I love collecting figures and recreating iconic scenes. Every figure deserves to shine on my display. So every week I ask myself the same question, and answer it by creating something I'm proud of. Join my weekly adventure by subscribing to my channel. Leave your feedback and suggestions down below. I often get inspired by your comments, and I hope I can inspire you too. Last week, I fixed the classic Iron Man Mark III figure. I made it more metallic and solid. Check that video out if you haven't already. How can I do Iron Man Mark III and not Iron Monger? Today, I want to see what I can do to this massive figure. This figure is very impressive, and it's also quite heavy to hold. But, is it perfect? Let's deconstruct this figure. Iron Monger is pretty much just one color, silver. The color on this figure is not bad. I really don't have to do much, but I like a good challenge. I want to make this figure look and feel more metallic, kinda like what I did with Iron Man Mark III. Tony Stark would keep his suited armors presentable. It's all about the spectacles for him. But I feel like Obadiah Stand will focus more on the suit's power and less about its appearance. So I want to make this figure more menacing and gritty. That's my analysis. Great figure overall, but I want to make it even better. So, can I make it? First, I'm going to adjust the base color. I'm going to mix silver with black to get a gunmetal color and apply it all over the figure to make it shinier. I'm not using my good old dollar store brush here because it's too small. It'll take me ages to paint over this figure with that brush. So I'm using a slightly bigger dollar store brush. This brush has softer bristles, so it's not a good brush for detail works. But since this figure is pretty much all silver, I don't have to worry too much about precision here. After all, this is just a base layer. I'm just trying to make the overall figure shinier first. It's also a nice way to test out brushes this way. Each brush behaves differently. Some brushes are better at certain things, but what matters in the end is still how it fits with your painting style. I generally like to use the same brushes for everything because I know I can rely on them. Sometimes when I pick up a new brush, I find it takes a while for me to get used to it. Take care of your brushes, and your brushes will take care of you. I also like working with thin layers, because most of the time, I'm not trying to completely change the color. I'm usually just trying to change the tone slightly. So by painting thin layers on, it allows the original color to still come through, enhancing what's already there and giving it more dimension. In this case, it's so subtle that it doesn't even look like I'm doing anything. But of course, if you know the exact color you want to replace it with, it would be better to apply a generous amount instead. Find a style that works for you. Okay, now the figure is a bit shinier. It needs more range, so I'm going to apply thin washes of black on various areas to make the metal look more solid, emphasizing the shadows on the figure. The fun thing about painting metal is that metal doesn't have a uniform look. Think about the metal railings or old sheet metals you see in factories or workshops. They have these dark patches here and there. It's only squeaky clean when it's polished. So for Iron Monger, I wanted to have the same gritty feel to it. Besides adding in the shading, I'm also making it look dirtier, removing some of the shine here and there. And the good thing is, I don't really have to think too much about where to apply the paint, and I can apply more if I want more of a rusty look, or I can stop whenever I feel like it. But I would suggest emphasizing the shading on the feet more. I personally don't like it when the legs or feet are too light in color. It makes the figure look top heavy. Our brains like to see darker colors at the bottom. It's built into our brains, kinda like how we perceive shadows. And for Iron Monger, it makes sense too because we know he has those thrusters under his feet, so the metal around his feet should be scorched. I've also switched to a slightly stiffer brush to apply the shading. I've never used this brush before. Hopefully this brush decides to be my friend. Alright, I'm gonna go in and do the rest of the shading. Hiya! Hiya! Okay, this video isn't very interesting at the moment. Let's do something fun. Let's see what I can do with this Arc Reactor. I'm glad this figure came with this important accessory. I want to see if I can make the Arc Reactor glow. Almost all the reference photos I found show that the center of the Arc Reactor glows the brightest. Now this piece is tiny. My brush can't really get into the tiny holes in the center. So I'm applying watered down drops of white paint, hoping that the paint will seep into the holes. And this is what it looks like. Not good at all. So let's hope I can fix this. First, I'm going to redefine the rings in the center to give it more structure. Okay, I think I just made it worse. Panic. Just gonna dab some paint here and hope for the best. Okay, it's slightly more defined now. Time to paint the copper pieces. It's looking a bit more like the Arc Reactor again. I wish I could do more to the size of the Arc Reactor, but it's just too small. So I'm just applying silver onto the extruded pieces here. It looks a bit meh up close, especially in a video format like this. But from where I'm sitting, the terrible paint job isn't as noticeable. So I'm gonna stop here before I mess it up even more. Here's what it looks like as a whole. I think the painted wire helps a lot. Now it looks like a piece of tech that may or may not light up. Not the best work I've done, but I'm satisfied. But you know what can make it even better? A square base with a low peg and a glass case. Okay, the base is made out of wood and toothpick, and the glass case is from the clear plastic on the Marvel Legends packaging. I like to be resourceful. You may know where this is going. I'm gonna glue the Arc Reactor onto the base and contain it inside a glass case. Because this proves that... I forgot something. There. Here's the Arc Reactor with the proof that Tony Stark has a heart ring around it. Now that looks good. And if you wonder how I got the ring around it, I just printed a bunch of these in various sizes. And luckily, the first one I did fit perfectly. Okay, let's try this again. I'm gonna glue the Arc Reactor onto the base, contain it inside a glass case. The white glue should dry clear. So let's wait a bit. Ta-da! This looks so cute. I love how this turned out. Sometimes the smallest thing brings me the most joy. Do I need the Arc Reactor in a case? Not really. Do I know how to display this? Not yet. Is this related to the video? It is now. Here's Iron Monger all painted. It's still mostly silver, but now there's more definition and weight to the figure. The metal also looks more realistic now. What do you think? Do you like what I've done? Let me know down below. I think the metallic look is quite convincing. It doesn't have that fake metallic plastic feel to it anymore. I love the way light bounces off the figure now. Oh, I almost forgot. This figure came with Obadiah Stand too. It's actually quite good. I don't need to do anything to him. Before I end this video, let me do a fun video montage of Iron Monger. So scary. So menacing. Bang bang. Spooky. So many deadly weapons. Okay, let's end this with the photo shoot. The way the light hits it, it's so beautiful. I want Iron Monger to feel cold and menacing, and I think these photos capture that feel. Unfortunately, the figure is a bit more limiting when it comes to posing options, but his imposing silhouette makes up for it. He really doesn't need to do much to feel threatening. Here he is with Obadiah. They're quite fun to pose together. This one's so goofy, but I love it. And here is with the Arc Reactor. This works for me. It's such an important artifact for the MCU. But there's only been less than a handful of characters holding the Arc Reactor. and it would be even more difficult to display it by itself due to its shape and size. But now, because it's in a bigger box, there are more possible posing options for it. And it also looks way more important like this now too. These photos tell a great story. This may be one of my favorite things I made, and it cost me close to nothing. Yet it looks so much more expensive now. I can't stop taking photos of it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give this a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay inspired, and I'll see you next week. I can make it, so can you.